Welcome to episode 142. Today we are going to discuss the field engineering commandments.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome everyone. I hope you are doing well. You know, one thing I want to kick off today is to say that there are companies out there that really have fantastic field engineering programs. There are some companies that have the reliance on the field engineering methods manual and the opportunity, and that's fine. That will give you the basics. That's the program that I went through. There are some companies that do field engineering boot camps, and then there's actually other companies that take it all the way, which is what I consider where they give you the opportunity. They have intentional programs for craft and foremen to go into the field engineering roles. They have monthly trainings, field engineer boot camps, which is the cat's meow of all training. It's the best training that I've ever experienced, that I've ever hosted, right? And they have lead field engineers either on every project or within the region, and they really make sure that field engineering is implemented in a very deep and meaningful way in coordination with survey and with the BIM departments and with any other functional group, and aligned with general superintendents and any of those field groups. The information is clear and it is managed well by a team of field engineer leaders within that region. So I'm really excited about that, because if you are a craft person or a foreman, or you are beginning your career in construction, you are really going to want to take part in a field engineering program. So if you're hearing this podcast and you want to know where to hire on, please keep that in mind. The people that go the farthest are the ones that are able to experience field engineering at its core. So I'm really excited about that. I am also really excited about working in my red zone. My red zone, the things that I get paid for, that people will use, that will buy, that I'm good at, and that I have time for, are training, coaching, mentoring, consulting, things like that. The more I'm focused in a direction where I am really in my red zone and doing what I was put on this earth to do, the happier I am. And I really just want to say that today, because I'm excited about me being in that spot, and any of you who are starting to figure out through these podcasts or through other, venues, other trainings, other podcasts, other shows, other mentoring, wherever you're getting it, getting more and more into your red zone where you will be successful and fulfilled. Fulfilled, that is not like a buzzword. We haven't worn it out. We cannot do enough work to get people where they're fulfilled at work. In fact, I do want to say, I went to a Rapport Leadership International Leadership Breakthrough 2 course, and that course is really about bringing the team together. So if you've ever been to one, you should go to 2. It's a fantastic program. And I've told you this before, but I remember being in that program halfway through and being very confused. Half of the people on my team said, I want you to step up more. The other half of my team was like, hey, you're stepping up too much. You need to back off. And I was really, really frustrated until I figured out that by doing what I need to be doing, being inside my red zone, being in the mentoring, coaching, consulting, teaching modality, right? Being in that focus, being in my red zone, everyone would accept me. They wouldn't say it's too much or too little. I was doing the wrong things. I was trying to direct traffic in that training. They were like, hey, don't direct traffic. And some people were like, I need you. I don't know if I need you directing traffic. And I was able to figure out that, wait a minute, I'm doing this the wrong way. And the reason half are frustrated, and actually 100% of my team members are frustrated, wanting more and wanting less, was because I was doing the wrong things. I was trying to direct traffic instead of teaching. Once I switched to teaching, everybody unanimously accepted me and my influence. And that happens among team members and us in our leadership. We have to know how we are to show up. So I hope that's helpful for you. That was my little intro, things that I'm excited about right now. Here's some conflict for us today. You may be doing things that will lead to mistakes if you're a field engineer. And today, podcast number 142, this is the series for Sunday for field engineers. I'm hoping that this will be a little bit shorter, but we really want this to work for you. So here you go. I'll give you a quick story. I remember I was in Texas getting a job out of the ground, and I was a very good field engineer. And this was when I finally got my act together. and I had my bags on. I even had the Field Engineering Methods Manual in my bags because I referenced it, throughout the day. It was such a help for me in my role. And I went into the office where they were doing a kind of a field engineer boot camp, but it wasn't the exact same thing. It was more like a field engineer seminar. Wes Crawford was doing the 3-day training there. And then I popped my head into the office, and one of the field engineers in there said, "Jason, you still burn a foot. Wes Crawford's telling us not to burn a foot." And I just sheepishly grinned and walked out of the door and didn't say anything because I was still being stubborn about that. I was slowly adopting correct principle after correct principle after correct principle, but burning a foot was still one of those things I was being stubborn about. So anyway, I go out in the field, and guess what? I lay out a set of anchor bolts a foot off, and it really stuck in my mind. I'm like, you know what? Maybe there is something to this don't burn a foot thing. And then I heard Wes Crawford tell me, here's how you use the end of a tape measure. This is why the metal piece moves back and forth. All you have to do is know how to properly use it, and you never have to burn a foot. And I switched from that day forward and never made that mistake again. And I can't tell you, I really can't tell you because I don't remember all of them, but at least 4 times I've made a burning a foot issue, a mistake where I had to chip concrete, or we had to fix it with the laborers and carpenters, and it was just a bad deal. So why am I telling you this story? The reason is because if we adhere to proper practices, we will not have to go through some of these mistakes. And there are some key commandments that I've told you about before, but I'm going to list out today in their abbreviated form simply so that you can head in that direction and go find that information for yourself from the Field Engineering Methods Manual, or, hire me to come do a boot camp, or to do field engineering training, or gain access to our videos, or, help set up that field engineering program within your company. Whatever the case may be, whether you get it on your own or you get it from us, the key is to adhere to proper practices and principles. So here we go. The Field Engineering Commandments. Number 1, and I'm going to take out some of the technical jargon and make it pretty simple for us today on the podcast because there aren't any visuals, but here we go. Number 1, always traverse your primary control. And it says in there that we need to have a certain level of accuracy, which you can calculate in the book, in the Field Engineering Methods Manual, and that you need to compare your civil coordinates with your traverse coordinates. Another commandment is to tie to or verify the basis of bearings, or basically your legal property corners, from the project coordinate system to those property corners, meaning you need to match what's existing on site with your coordinate system that you have brought on site with your control. Here's another one. Always perform a level loop throughout all of your primary control points, and make sure that you have benchmarks properly labeled. If you don't have a proper level loop, or a level circuit, which is what they call, where you go around and you close that level loop, and you're estimating to the nearest thousandth, and you're using 3-wire leveling, and you go through 2 benchmarks, then there is a chance that your elevations on your project site will be wrong. In fact, I remember when we switched to this system in Hensel Phelps, almost all of their elevation problems from coast to coast went away overnight. It was fantastic. Here's another one. All level loops are to be performed by going through 2 known benchmarks, estimating to the nearest thousandth for rod measurements, using 3-wire leveling, and closing the loop back to the starting point. Now, there's also a way to calculate this accuracy. So you will really need to make sure that you use 3-wire leveling to know your overall distance, and then to calculate your precision, your accuracy at the end. Here's another one. Horizontal distance measurements are to be done with a total station, a tape measure, or a steel chain. No plastic, cloth, or uncalibrated steel tape. So if you go to Home Depot and you go get those stretchy tapes, those 100-foot tapes, that's going to be at least 3/4 of an inch off. You can't do that. So it has to be a tape measure, it has to be a total station, or it has to be a calibrated steel chain, which is calibrated for tension and temperature and sag. Here's another one. Always check using a different technology, a different direction, a different person, or a different approach. If you don't do this, you will have lots of mistakes. And for you professional surveyors out there, I'm still talking to you. It doesn't matter if you've been in the industry for 40 years. If you don't do these double checks, you are going to struggle. Here's another one. Label everything you lay out and keep good field notes with pen. Strike through mistakes and corrections, no erasing. Another one, all benchmarks to be set as a part of a closed level loop and documented. Every building is to have 2 benchmarks around it at a minimum. Now, here's the thing. If you go set a benchmark that people are going to use and you just do it as a side shot, you have a huge risk of making an error. You need to make sure that those temporary benchmarks are a part of a level loop, that they're closed, that you follow all of those proper practices, and that you know for a fact it's right. I can't tell you how many buildings were way off in elevation because people didn't listen to this advice, this commandment right here. Here's another one. Establish a baseline with 2 accurate endpoints. Intermediate points, meaning a minimum of 2, are to be set in line from the endpoints as a complete line. And every baseline is to have 4 points. Because if you have 3 points, you don't know if one is wrong. If you have 4 points, you can identify which one may have been run over, which one is wrong, which one is inaccurate. You can always self-check within the baseline if you have 4 points. Here's the big one. Never burn a foot. Learn how to use the end of your tape or chain. Always have tape ends in good condition. I can't really argue with you about this. If you want to burn a foot, then go chip stuff out that's a foot off. I don't really care. But if you want to do it right, then never burn a foot. Just hold it at 0. Here's another one. When radial staking, always tie into a known and established field point before beginning radial layout. That means if you have your setup point, your occupy point, and your backside point, and you want to go spray out points, you need to first solve to a known ground point and make sure that you take a distance and angle on that and see if you're within 0.02 to the left or the right or 0.02 forward and back, making sure that you hit fairly flat so that you know that you're in the proper rotation when you're doing radial layout. Here's another one. Use true plumbs to calibrate your 4-foot prism poles. Use mini prisms with 1 foot or less extensions for tolerances less than 0.01. Here's the bottom line. Your 4-foot prism poles need to be calibrated, but they are also fairly inaccurate. They're about 3/8 off. So if I see a surveyor out in the field using a total station with a 4-foot prism pole, spraying out points, and then putting it on a hub or a nail, I automatically know that that point can't be any closer than a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. I know it's going to be wrong because you have 0.015 in error in the total station. You have 0.03 in the prism pole. You have 0.01 in marking the point. I mean, there's a lot of inaccuracies there. So I would rather you use the mini prism, the peanut prism, and these 1-foot extensions to lower that distance and reduce that error. Here's the last one. Always calibrate your equipment. This might seem like a no-brainer, but I can't tell you how many times, well, actually I can, about a quarter of the time that I get an automatic level from the shop, brand new or otherwise, it's out of calibration. Half of the time I get a tri-bract from the shop, it's out of calibration. I've never had a total station out of calibration, but I have heard of that happening. And then I also know that there are plumb bobs and 1-foot prism poles and a number of other surveying equipment that will come out defective. You have to set up a test area and check your equipment. And so why do I tell you these things? Why am I boring you with this on a Sunday? Well, it's because this can be a big deal. I mean, not following one of these rules could mean $300,000. It could mean $1 million. It could mean having the building in a completely wrong spot. It's a big deal. Why am I telling you this? Because these practices have been gleaned from the lessons of history from hundreds and hundreds of field engineers and superintendents and surveyors, and they prevent large mistakes, and it works everywhere we try it. And the current condition is people are just not checking their work and following these rules. So I would challenge you to learn these commandments, get yourself a really nice field engineering program, work with the book, work with Wes Crawford, work with an industry expert, work with me, whatever you want to do, but make sure this is a part of your standard work, your standard quality checks, and go out there and just have fun, do great work, put it in place, take your time, do it right, and go home knowing that it's right. Have a great, wonderful career and enjoy your success. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.